What's up, and welcome back to Nowstalgia Pod, giving you another week of what's going on in pop culture. My name is Pat Sheehan, joined by my trusty co-host Dave Martin Swagger. Dave, what's going on, man?
Top of the morning. Let's get this shit.
Yeah, man. We're gonna be talking about quite a few things today. We have a couple of records to talk about, a lot of TV, because we're also talking Emmys today, and then we have a movie that you were able to make it to. Before we start, hit that subscribe button if you're listening on soundcloud.com/nostalgiapod or youtube.com/nostalgiapod. Also follow us on Twitter at nostalgiapod. And also check out our Nowstalgia Best of 2021 music playlist on Spotify, which features a song from Lisa from BLACKPINK. And why is that, Dave?
Lisa released her debut single album, LALISA, named after her given name. And once again, like with BLACKPINK's Rosé releasing a single album, and we've talked about this before with other K-pop groups releasing mini albums. I love K-pop's just refusal to use the term EP. It's really funny to me.
Yeah, it's two songs, really tough to call it an album, but hey, I mean, if it works, it works, I guess. I gotta say, if not, we're growing K-pop fans here on the podcast. Dave, a little bit more aware of the comings and goings, but we've reviewed quite a few albums to this point, and the music video for Lisa and the song La Lisa is absurd and rules. It's just so good. That song, like immediately after hearing it, I said to you, like, this song is awesome. Added it to the playlist without even like a doubt. It's like kind of all over the place and chaotic, but like in the best way possible. And I just really dig Lisa. I mean, singing, it sounds like a lot of the K-pop female vocalists, but her rapping ability is, I think, what I was most impressed with on this. What about you?
Yeah, well, that's why I really like Lisa as a member of BLACKPINK. Probably my favorite member, but I do like all of them. But I always liked it because she seems just very versatile. She sings and she raps plainly, just like Jenny does. And like thinking back to like the big BLACKPINK songs, right? Like Kill This Love, or especially How You Like That. Big Lisa rap verses are big parts of those songs. And just the prospect of hearing a Lisa solo album, which would have a lot of rapping, is appealing to me because she's pretty good at it. Now, because this is BLACKPINK, they don't put out a lot of music, so we got 2 solo tracks. But yeah, I think the title track, La Lisa, probably does the best job of showing off her talents because like the first verse is all singing and the second verse is all rapping. And in general, that's a song that has like a lot of switch ups. And if you watch the music video, it clearly took a long time to make because there's like a lot of like outfit changes and hair and wig changes and stuff like that. It's very intricate.
And scene changes. She's all over the place in that. In
right.
The desert, in like all these like studio places. It's crazy.
Yeah, and she actually spoke to the production of the song, incorporating a bit of her Thai heritage in terms of like some like background production. I mean, obviously, I'm not like well versed enough to hear that, but like she said it's there, and that was actually something she reached out to Teddy Park, the BLACKPINK Uber producer, to bring something in because she doesn't write her own songs, but what she does that is some of the feedback she gave. But yeah, I mean, between the rapping and I think also again the visual component, her dancing, I think that's always been like her appeal. So with these 2 songs, again, it's such a slight, taste, but it's still pretty fun. Like even like Money, the second song, I guess more traditional like K-pop rap banger, and like lyrically, it's like really really basic. Let's be real, like
Yeah.
like the hook lyrics, the twerking parts, like it's quite simple honestly, but she's good enough to make like dumb rap bangers, and I just wish we could get like an album of them because they'd be really fun.
BLACKPINK operates, as you said, in like the less is more type area, and it does exactly what they want it to, which is for us to just be like, we want it. When they drop something, it becomes huge. So I'm with the strategy that they have. I just every time I think about BLACKPINK, I think about the Coachella documentary that was made a few years back, and like how they talked about Blackpink. I think it was actually from last year. They talked about Blackpink's performance in 2019 and just how like everyone was there for it and like energy around it was crazy. I mean,
Their
the hype
debut
is insane.
performance in the US. Yeah.
Yeah, the hype around them is just insane, and I would love to hear more from them. Obvious, I'm sure we will in due time. But for now, like I'll take these 1-2 song albums and enjoy the hell out of them.
Yeah. And I mean, speaking to that hype, LALISA, the music video, became the fastest YouTube video to reach 100 million views for a soloist. Obviously, all those big records overall are largely from groups, but soloist record, funny enough. Yeah,
Insane.
man, I'd love to hear more. They just had the Blackpink the movie come out, do a very brief theatrical run in August. 5 years of Blackpink. And it's like, man, 5 years of Blackpink, and there's like 25 Blackpink songs. It's like, oh, give us more, please.
Yeah, I can't wait till we hear more. But until then, La Lisa will have to hold us over. Someone that we got more of though Dave, was Baby Keem dropping Melodic Blue. And Keem is someone that we talked about for Triple XL freshman. Someone
Double
that we
XL,
were
brother.
sorry, double. I think I've done that every time I've talked about it recently. I'm just adding next. It's gonna be
Having an
quadruple
X
next time.
bigger and bigger.
Yeah. Well, definitely went this album. 16 songs, right around 50, I believe. And really, I think what's most is there's not a lot of cohesion, I would say, around the like themes of the album, but Keem is trying a lot of stuff here. And I think it's to varying degrees of effect, but I think there's more good than bad here on this album. What did you think of Baby Keem's The Melodic Blues?
Yeah, I agree. This is notably his debut album and also his first project on PG Lang, the relatively brand new multimedia company slash record label founded by Kendrick Lamar and his TDE cohort Dave Free. And it's come out recently that Keem may in fact be a cousin of Kendrick Lamar. This certainly was not the thought when Baby Keem blew up a few years back. He had 2 mixtapes come out in between 2018 and 2019, and Orange Soda off that second mixtape became a big hit for him, went platinum. And I think what he did on that second tape, Die for My Bitch, is pretty similar to what he does in Melodic Blue in the sense that, as you said, there's a lot of like different stuff going on, and there's not the most label cohesion, but there's still a lot of like appealing vocal talent and just like choices done with the music that you want to hear more. And there's been a lot of hype for Baby Keem leading up to this album, and to get the Melodic Blue, I think you're right. Like it's definitely not a perfect album, but there's a lot of cool stuff going on, and that's really fun because like honestly, this album was not like expected until like a few weeks back. Like he only confirmed it was coming out quite recently, which is cool.
Yeah. I think the album starts off really hot. I think the first 2 tracks, Trademark USA, is Keem just showing off his rapping chops, just like totally crushing it. And then that going into Pink Panties, which is so bouncy, feels like a West Coast song, something that might be on like a YG album almost, at least in terms of like the beat and the bounce to it. I thought that was a great way to start the album off. Maybe my favorite 2-song sequence on the whole thing. And that's not to say that there aren't good other sequences, but those 2 really stood out. Want to pass it back to you though. What were the songs or moments that you liked the most?
So I agree. The beginning's really good, and I really liked the beginning. Trademark USA, like you said, just really fun bars there. And then like, halfway through the song, there's that beat switch, there's that flow switch. You get some Rosalia background vocals. I think that's a really good song, really good intro. Pink Panties has that chorus sample by Che Ikru, I believe is how you say it. And I really like those vocals on that hook. Sounds good. And then Range Brothers, man. Track 4, Kendrick Lamar, Top of the Morning. Let's get this shit. Really memorable feature from Kendrick, which is great because we already had a very memorable feature with the lead single Family Ties, also featuring Kendrick from a week ago or so. So I think Range Brothers is probably my favorite song just because I think that Kendrick verse is like hilarious and also just fun to go back to. But There's other stuff I liked. I really liked Lost Souls. I thought Boo Man was pretty fun, and Scars, he interpolates Kanye's Love Lockdown.
Yeah.
Production wise, is actually when you listen to it back to back, you can actually hear it really easily. I didn't catch it
Hmm.
the first run through, but yeah, I mean, I think there's some songs I like. Now, other times, I think the effort Keem's giving on the song is uh, not as evident. So there's dips in quality, like they're just kind of more throwaway tracks. But then he can follow that
Hmm.
up with a song, like you said, with like multiple flows and intricate production. And he also produced almost every song on this, so he's very
Yeah.
involved in the making of this album. So not perfect, but uh, people should be invested in Baby Keem. That much is obvious.
Yeah, I agree with that sentiment 100%. I was really impressed when I checked out the credits and saw that he was produced every song, or at least was a co-producer in every song, because um, like like we've said, things aren't perfect on this, and I think there's probably room for growth in terms of like scope, but also just like cohesiveness in terms of the sound. The fact that he is so diverse in his production already, I think is really a great sign, and I think just indicates that we're going to see him doing a lot of interesting stuff, probably to varying degrees of success. But yeah, I was really impressed, because a song like "Do Rag Activity" Travis Scott, right? It sounds like a Travis Scott track. I feel like it in a lot of ways, because Travis is like the main person for the first half of the song. It's easy to just kind of like think that. But Keem, I think, stands up pretty well next to him. And the fact that he can make a song that sounds like a Travis Scott song, that song that reminded me of like a YG song, and then a song like Range Brothers, like that's not nothing. I think
Yeah.
that's a good sign for someone who's only 21 years old. So a lot of good stuff on here for sure.
Yeah, we should also note that on Family Ties, Kendrick, of course, saying address me as four letters, smoking on top five, so however he puts it. Of course, Freddie Gibbs the other day just
Yeah.
responding to Kendrick, calling him out, which honestly, you love to see it because Gibbs, uh, as we've been saying, a lot of people have been saying online, definitely deserves his just desserts as a top tier rapper who just doesn't have, big commercial presence, but is still right up there with the best of them as a rapper. I doubt Kendrick follows that up with anything, but awesome to hear, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. Hoping, I wouldn't hate this a little like friendly back and forth. Get some good Lucy's out of them. But
Mm,
I just want to shout out that this record, um, expected to bring in 50 to 55,000 album
mm.
equivalent units. Pretty great, and for up to 4,000 pure album sales. So for a 21 year old, pretty great debut. He's going to be in the top five of Billboard's top 200. Baby Keem sharing the top five Billboard top 200 with next about Kacey Musgraves, who we haven't talked about too much since 2018's Golden Hour, an album that we both liked a lot. I think it really brought Casey more into like the pop sphere of things, which I think is a little bit more up our alley. We're not big country fans on the show, as evidenced by our lack of country reviews. But Casey really mixed her background with some disco, with just pure writing ability, um, and was really, really just like a really impressive album, fourth album. And our fifth one, Starcross, comes out 3 years later, and you know, my first on listening to it, my first take was, ah, uh, like downbeat, sad album. We've had a lot of these recently. This one makes a little bit more sense to me. I mean, everybody's been through a lot this year. But Kacey Musgraves, this album is directly about her divorce from her now ex-husband and country star, who I don't know, Rustin Kelly. I mean,
Hmm.
who? But anyways, uh, she's going through a lot, and I think this album is still a really strong album in terms of like writing. Just does not live up to the highs of Golden Hour to me. What about like Starcrossed?
I did like Star-Crossed. I would say there's still some really appealing moments to me. I think because it doesn't actually come across as like that sad sounding to me. I think partially because lyrically, she's more or less taking a more looking forward, positive outlook message about her breakup, about her past mistakes and the failings of her marriage and all that. And it actually comes across as like more relatable and I guess more general. So like it's an accessible stuff to even people that aren't, divorced and whatnot. Um, and I think there's just some really nice moments that I think stand out to me just as songs you can just pick up. They don't have to really remind you of uh, breakup songs and whatnot. In Golden Hour, obviously being the first semblance of any transition away from country music from her, still having country stuff, but uh, Slow Burn and Space Cowboy, High Horse. Yes, there's still like country, wordplay and all that, but the way the songs are made, they definitely are incorporating a lot more genres than just
Mhm.
traditional country music. And obviously, Casey has been able to kind of branch out beyond the country charts, which is obviously nice to see because it's not like she was like getting huge success when she was pure country anyway. And obviously, High Horse still my favorite song off that album, just because
Oh
it's
yeah,
as a disco jam, so
yeah.
good. But on this, there's no High Horse this time around, and there's probably nothing like as intricate in the writing department as like Space Cowboy or something like that. But I thought Simple Times hook was tremendous,
Hmm.
and the guitar on that sounded great. And then Breadwinner has a really poppy chorus while still being acoustic. So I think there's still some good stuff here, no question.
Oh yeah, for sure. Two of the ones that you shouted out and two of my first tracks on this, which is usually a good sign. But Breadwinner and Simple Times, I think both are up there. I love Good Wife a lot. It's definitely a little bit slower, but just like it's the kind of song you like melt into and over. Um, Simple Times, you mentioned. If this was a movie, also, I thought was a standout, especially with just like the lyrically. I think it kind of touches on the themes of the album that you talked about, where she's kind of coming from the divorce, but also like not necessarily in a way where it's like, oh man, I'm totally heartbroken, but more so like this what would have happened, but it's not, and this is where we're at. Like actually, just like very plain. I think that's what is most impressive in her songwriting on this album is that it's very like straightforward and like matter of fact. There's like she uses some pretty simple meta throughout, but just to get across like very straightforward thoughts and messages. And I think that actually might have been helped by the fact that she just worked with two other musicians, Ian Fitchick and Daniel Tashian, and they produced and wrote everything together. So it's like not a lot of kitchen. It's just pretty much straight Musk and her collaborators. I think is great. So I still think this is a really strong album, but it's just hard to follow up Golden Hour with something that's a little bit more, heavy in content, maybe, or topic.
Yeah, and I would say that I was not aware of this album cycle happening. And I did see that sentiment shared a little bit. It's like, oh yeah, happy to have this. It sounds pretty good, but was anyone else anticipating this? And
Right.
thinking about it, Golden Hour that was early 2018. Her Grammy for Album of the Year was early 2019. It's been plenty of time for the next Kacey Musgraves albums. It makes plenty of sense. And yeah, I just don't think the press work was laid, at least not to my knowledge. Yeah, and the people you mentioned, Ian Fitchick and Daniel Tashin, they had done a lot of work with her on Golden Hour, but it's notable that other people, as you said, other people that worked with her throughout all her albums up through Golden Hour, which are more like, Nashville tied, those people no longer were involved. So definitely seems like a good creative move again, because she doesn't need to like worry about Nashville convention anymore. She's clearly branched out beyond just being a country artist. And there's still plenty of country, stylings on here, but there's also some really
Yeah.
like groovy songs, So It's clear that Kacey Musgraves is much more uh, you know, all encompassing. I also really like
Yeah,
Cherry Blossoms as a song. Like the production on that obviously would feel very out of place on a traditional country record.
for sure. Yeah, I mean, she's definitely elevated beyond just a pure country artist. It's really nice to see her continue to expand and still keeping the same things that she's really good at, which I think is making really strong right off the writing. So um, I was a little bit surprised not to see any Ezra Koenig on this,
Hmm.
which they collaborated a little bit on Golden Hour, and just he would have been like prime there because he's not doing anything with Vampire Weekend right now. But sure he said maybe next time. All right, Dave, let's move on to TV and something that we were able to catch an episode of before we had to record today on FX on Hulu is Why the Last Man, series based off of a comic book from, I think it's pretty recent. This comic book, right?
Yeah, Brian K. Vaughan comic book Why the Last Man. It's very very popular, very well liked. A dystopian
Yeah,
series.
yeah, and as you just mentioned, it's a post-apocalyptic world where every person with a Y chromosome has mysteriously died, except for Y and his
Hmm.
pet monkey. Which I gotta say, really love the monkey. Um, Warming up to the show, I would say after just one episode. I think it's obviously a lot of exposition and setup in the first episode. There's a lot going on, so my hope is that as episodes 2 and 3 play out, it
Hmm.
kind of hones in a little bit more on certain characters and themes. But what did you think of the premiere episode of Why the Last Man?
Yeah, so the comic series ran from 2002 to 2008. So
Oh, not
in the
that
grand
recent.
scheme of comic books, that's recent. And yeah, so I liked it. Like you said, a lot of exposition, a lot of table setting, introducing yourself to characters, female characters that you know will survive uh, in
Mhm.
the subsequent hours to follow. And I think for me, it's just kind of like the potential of the series because dystopian series actually is quite a mixed bag on TV. And if we could get one that's like really good and really compelling, that'd be super cool. Because like
Mhm.
remember the Walking Dead hype back in the day? Walking Dead's still ongoing. It's ending, but there's many spin-offs and all that for AMC. The Walking Dead had like so much like potential before we all realized what kind of show The Walking Dead was going to be, and it wasn't actually that concerned with its more like existential themes and all that. It seems like Why the Last Man, due to the unable to avoid like gender study stuff that can happen with this, has a lot of potential. So I hope it can get there. I was disappointed when they ended up recasting this lead role for Y here. Ben Schnitzer is our lead,
Mhm.
but this was supposed to be played by Barry Kagan when the show got off
Mm.
the ground. In general, the series at FX has had a troubled production, troubled getting off the ground, multiple showrunners. Then it had some COVID issues when it finally started getting made, but it's finally out, and you still have Diane Lane involved. That's obviously our most famous actor
Yeah.
present. So for me, it's just kind of the potential of the world, as it were. So we'll see how far we get because I trust FX at the end of the day, So I'm gonna give him the rope.
Yeah, I think that that's a good point. Is FX really does a nice job of curating most of these shows. Um, I'm I'm a little interested to see what comes of Olivia Thirlby. I hope I said that correctly. Whose character commits a murder by the end of the first episode, and just kind of if that's going to just be yada yada out, or how that's going to kind of hang
Doesn't
over
need to be
things.
yada yada, bro. They all died.
I know, right? So it's gonna be interesting how that kind of just like affects the show, or if that will just be whatever. Um, but yeah, I have to say, I think Ben Schnetzer, It's a okay amount of screen time in the first episode. Obviously, going to be heavily involved in the other episodes, but I wasn't super impressed with him, and I worry that, as you said, maybe a more accomplished or recognizable actor might be better served to play a role like this. That's going to be so central to how things move forward. Um, but we'll see. I mean, maybe it's just one episode and he really shines. Diane Lane, I think, was by far my favorite presence, and all the stuff around the government I find really
Right.
interesting. So, really looking forward to how they kind of play that out. It's only 6 episodes from what I can see,
No,
so
it's going to be 10.
it's gonna be 10. Okay,
Yeah,
so only
the critics
6
got
that
the
are.
first 6.
Gotcha. That's what it is. So, looking forward to seeing how this plays out. There's 3 on FX on Hulu, so if you want to catch the first one and binge a couple more, go for it.
Right.
Any more thoughts, Dave?
Yeah, in the press, they're talking about some of the stuff they were thinking about with this, and one of them was like logistically, like if this was to happen in the world where all people with a Y chromosome died, there's a lot of like societal things that would just die because, like, for example, only like 10% of commercial truck drivers are women. It's things like that,
Mm,
right? And it's like, oh
right.
wow. And this kind of again brings me back to The Walking Dead, and where it came up short for me is like logistically, the logistics of dystopias and how new societies try and like survive. That's always the most interesting shit to me, you know?
Yeah.
Like when The Walking Dead got obsessed with like we're gonna go fight those other people, the Alexandria, blah blah blah. It's like I don't care about that. I want to know how the fuck you're eating your food every day and shit like that. In the case of this, obviously it's not going to be like the zombie apocalypse because there's still tons of people around, right? But I just want to
Mm.
see like what are like the new like societal dynamics, and then I guess because I don't know from exposure to the comics or anything, like exactly does Yorick like matter as the one man? It's like, is it just as simple as like, oh, you better fucking get that semen and freeze that shit, like is that all it is, or like where is this going? But like
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of potential with like just even the simple stuff.
Yeah. Well, and we also saw that it looks like all mammals with a Y chromosome are somewhat
Yes.
impacted. So then, obviously, food supply in terms of at least like meat, and the effect that that's going to have on the nature and the ecosystem, things like that.
Yeah.
All really interesting. So, great premise. Looking forward to seeing how it plays out. Why don't we keep it moving though to another show that premiered just this weekend? Scenes from a Marriage. Oscar Isaac, who you're going to be talking about a little bit more in a second, and Jessica Chastain, and heavy, heavy like marriage story meets like Master of None type
Mm.
feel,
Master of
and I
None
think,
season 3 in particular.
yeah, season 3 in particular, especially with the final scene in the episode, which we'll get to. Um, this is based off of a Swedish show from the
Mm.
1970s,
From
which I think
Igmar
is pretty,
Bergman.
yeah, which I think is pretty interesting. To be bringing this back, Hagi Levy is the director, and Dave, I gotta say, I sit all day talking with people. That's just my job, pretty much. So shows like this or In Treatment never really appealed to me just because it's like, oh, this stuff is hard
Mm.
and this is really uncomfortable a
My
lot of
mom
the
has
time.
always said the same stuff about anything related to her line of work too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
And
think
so
it's a common thought.
it wasn't totally my bag, but I think you can still look at the performances given by Isaac and Chastain. And, in this episode, we get Corey Stoll and
Mm.
Sunita Manny as well,
Right.
giving really, really strong, like 15 minutes in the middle of the episode. And you can appreciate it even if it's not totally your thing. What did you think of the first episode?
Yeah, no, I totally agree, and I'm gonna keep watching it because it's 5 episodes. Thankfully, it's not like 8 or anything like that. And because it's 2 world class talents in a miniseries, it's like, and they're operating at a high level. They have good chemistry through one episode. It's like, I feel like I gotta see it through. But to your point, yeah, this is probably going to be like the most tension filled moments of Marriage Story. the whole time for 5 hours. That's a tough ask. That's not for everyone. I totally understand. And in the case of like Master Nun season 3, uh, that was an uneven season. In this case, we're asking a lot of 2 A-list performers to kind of carry us through. That Ingmar Bergman miniseries from the 70s, kind of revelatory at the time because the miniseries as a format was just not super popular. Now, of course, it's one of the most accomplished ways for talent to get on screen, right? So very different times we're in, but I think I'm just gonna hope it's not too unbearable. But yeah, they're clearly gonna tear each other apart, and it's gonna be a tough hang.
Yeah. Interesting. Just doing a little bit of research for this. Michelle Williams is a producer on this, an executive producer on this, and was originally supposed to play Chastain's character, has scheduling conflict. And I just think about that scene from Manchester by the Sea, where her and Casey Affleck finally like talk and have like the breakdown. And if Michelle Williams had been in that role in the final scene in the doctor's office in this episode, I mean, Chastain totally destroyed me, but Michelle Williams might have actually like brought me to tears. Like not that Chastain isn't as good of an actress, but I think Michelle Williams just hits those like deeper feels a little bit more for some reason for me.
Yeah, in general, this first episode I think has like some really great like long scenes, right? You have that interview scene really start us off with a Sunita Mani, who we know from Mr. Robot. Really like that. And then later on, after like the dinner stuff with Corey Stoll and all that, you get that really long scene in the bedroom when you find out she's pregnant and all that. And those long scenes, I think, just do a really good job to highlight the writing and give the performers time, because that's all it is, just talking. This was a show made during COVID, and maybe surprisingly reminds us every episode, apparently, that it was made during COVID, because you see these like behind the scenes, I don't know, behind the scenes scenes of like Chastain walking onto set and everyone around her has a mask on. When I first saw it, I was like, is this like in the narrative? And then you realize, no, it's not. It's literally just behind the scenes work. I'm not sure what the choice was there, but everything else with the first episode I thought was really well done to convey what it is. And like again, those long scenes are really good.
The writing feels so real, which is obviously a huge compliment when you can make dialogue that feels real. But the characters that they're talking about, whether it's Corey Stoll and Nicole Bahari's characters who are in an open marriage, and talking about the loss of the different relationships that they've had in their marriage and how that impacts their central marriage to things, and then Chastain trying to be there for her friend, and kind of judging her, but then kind of not judging her. And Oscar Isaac is this like intellectual who like over intellectualizes everything, and just comes across, I think, a bit like cold and distant at times. It's just so true to life. I feel like I know these characters, which is good, and like you said, kind of makes it even more unbearable at times. Yeah, I mean, I don't really have too many more thoughts on the show. I'm looking forward to it, even if it's going to be a brutal hour every week.
Yeah, a reunion for Oscar Isaac and Chastain. They, of course, played a married couple in A Most Violent Year, the film for 2014 or 2015. And we're actually going to be getting more of both of them later this fall, because Chastain is in The Eyes of Tammy Faye coming out next week. And Oscar Isaac, of course, is in Dune. So I love both of these actors, so let's go.
Just a little movie named Dune.
Let's go.
Eyes of Tammy Faye, Andrew Garfield comeback. Second round of comeback, I'd say.
Comeback, bro, he never left for me. Under the Silver Lake, let's go.
I mean, Spider-Man was tough, but why don't we keep it rolling to someone that, of course, needs a comeback? Ryan Murphy. American Crime Story, Impeachment. We've been talking about Ryan Murphy a lot. Actually, I didn't even check. Is he actually he's probably an executive producer on this, right? But I doubt he's directing.
He is. No, he's not. Yeah, not directing, but he's the creator of American Crime Story, the franchise. So this is one of his joints, and notably, because of a older deal signed between Fox and Netflix in 2016 that included global rights to ACS. American Crime Story Impeachment is not part of FX on Hulu, despite being an FX series, and ACS always being an FX show. So it'll be on Netflix sometime next year, but you do not get that on demand next day viewing on Hulu the way you do with, say, Why the Last Man or other FX shows like Reservation Dogs. So that was kind of a eyebrow raising thing when I realized, wait, an FX show is not on Hulu the next day? What the fuck, man? Alas, here we are. Deals are deals.
Also, just want to clean this up. He did, in fact, direct this episode of this week. So
Just
Ryan
the
Murphy.
pilot?
Yeah, it looks like it doesn't. It doesn't have the other directors here on the page I'm looking at, but yeah. I mean, I don't know. American Crime Story, obviously O.J. Simpson. While I don't think it's the best acted TV show of last however many years, it was just super compelling. I mean, the O.J. saga is just so compelling as is that I feel like you'd really have to flub it up to not make it a somewhat at least interesting TV show.
I mean, if anything, I would say the acting is the best part about People versus OJ.
You think
specifically?
So?
I mean, Courtney B. Vance. Courtney B. Vance as Johnny Cochran, and then Sterling K. Brown as Chris Darden. That was a complete revelation at the time. And then also Sarah Parson as Marcia Clark. Those three performances are awesome. And
great point. Yeah,
Schwimmer's kind of juice all the time, and Travolta's doing his thing. But
Gooding Jr. is not good either.
Yeah, but I guess that's the best part because, like, I think it just all kind of coalesced because, like, the writing on that straightforward, but like it was the best example of what the American Crime Story thing is supposed to be in terms of presenting like tabloidy and media sensationalized public stories and dramatizing them. And it was the best example. Like Gianni Versace notably was non-linear and told in reverse order. And in general, I just didn't think it was as a compelling story to experience again. And I guess that's kind of the key question with Impeachment is this a compelling story to revisit? It's notable that this was initially dropped as a potential ACS season because Murphy didn't think it should be done without Monica Lewinsky's say in the matter. And then about a year later, she signed on as a producer, Lewinsky did, and they made the show. And of course, they dropped the Hurricane Katrina thing years ago at this point as a potential season. And now we have it. And yeah, it's clear that we're getting the Lewinsky side of the story, focusing on the women. Also Paula Jones, Linda Tripp. That's clearly our three central figures here. From what I understand from the critics, Bill Clinton's presence is minimal in this season, in the story, the way they're telling it. But I mean, did it do enough for you in one episode to make you want to keep going?
Oh man, I mean, I'm going to keep going just because, like, it's a scandal from my childhood from our childhood that I think we both probably at least remember being part of the adults in our lives every day.
When did this happen? 99?
Yeah, 98? I mean, I think it's 99.
Yeah, I was only like 7, so I was definitely aware of what was going on.
Yeah, I mean, I remember all the hullabaloo about it and whatnot. It's I think it's really tough because Linda Tripp in this is painted as such a piece of shit,
clearly.
And and the first episode just revolves around her, and like you said, setting up like Monica as this very sympathetic figure who got. I think Lewinsky has been painted in a terrible light, and I think recently people have started to recognize how unfair the publicity around all this was when she's totally taken advantage of as a young professional in the workplace with the most powerful man in the world who was seducing her and being inappropriate with her. But it seems pretty one-sided, like you said, and to me that's not as interesting. Also, you don't get any Bill in this. You get maybe 1 second at the very end. It's like, I want to see Clive Owen just doing his thing. Let's see it. And if he sucks as Bill, then the show probably is going to totally flop. Beanie, She can probably pull off a good Lewinsky. I thought she was okay, very like doe-eyed in this first episode, but just overall, I just didn't think anything here really grabbed me. If anything, I was like, okay, we get it. She like hates the way she looks, and like Linda Tripp is very jealous of this person. Like, we get it. Like, let's just kind of move on. But
And that's kind of been the thing with the advanced reviews, is that it's not very nuanced. And stop me if you heard this before about a Ryan Murphy associated show not being nuanced.
I was about to say that.
Here we are. But yeah, like Linda Tripp presence is like bordering on like unwatchable just because of how grating it is. Sarah Paulson, for what it's worth, doing what she does, but she's also, you know, kind of like wearing prosthetics and wearing a fat suit. I don't know if that was the best choice. Could just maybe cast someone else. And also like, yeah, this is doing a good job to like tell the Monica side of the story. And, you know, Lewinsky gave a TED Talk years ago, and it seemed in general she's more public facing now and try to take back her life and her story and all that. But you know what this is not going to do is recontextualize Linda Tripp, who, by the way, had a very tough time publicly during all this as well.
Right.
You know, remember the John Goodman SNL skits and stuff. It's like it's definitely the Lewinsky side of things.
Yeah.
And you know, the story with a more capable hand, I don't even know if like there's a higher level to achieve with this, just because if you're not going to try and turn over a new leaf beyond the obvious stuff, then kind of like what's the point? Because People vs. OJ was just fun because of how pulpy the story is, right? Impeachment isn't fun. You know, everything around it is bad. And even if we're going to try and contextualize the blame and rightfully put it on, you know, Bill Clinton in terms of power dynamics and all that, I just still don't know if there's enough here to really make it the most watchable thing.
Yeah. I will say it's only 5 episodes. So, you know, at least it's not going to be something we have to tune into for, you know, 10. It's and I think that's a good call. You know, when you were talking a second ago, I was like, let's hope this isn't like 7 or 8, because I think then they're really going to be dragging this out. I think 5 is probably a good sweet spot. You know, you get like a Bill and Hillary episode, and then you get Bill being deposed and impeached, and you know, finally having like the "I did not have sexual relations with that woman" thing. Like, you kind of know the beats that are going to come about from this. But
so I hate to break it to you, but the critics have seen 7 of 10 episodes.
No,
this is 10 episodes,
bro. Oh man, this is the second time today I got. Oh, man.
Yeah.
Anyways, I gotta say, like,
OJ was 10 and Versace was 9, so probably saw that coming.
Like, if it really was 5, I feel like that would be a good amount. But
sure,
yeah, I think I'm out on that many.
Yeah. Apparently, Edie Falco's Hillary Clinton is also like barely in the show as well, and yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've only seen one episode, but just seems like I kind of seen a lot of it already based on what everyone else is saying who's seen more of it. So,
and to me, I feel like that would be one of the most interesting aspects, is like seeing the like behind the scenes look of how the Clintons, as a, you know, powerful public couple, were dealing with this, and what their marriage actually was. You know, it's long been reported it's one way, and publicly facing they're obviously a different way. I don't know.
Yeah. So
Ryan
they
Murphy,
did announce
not the person to do this.
Right. So they did announce what the 4th season being developed is going to be about, American Crime Story. And that'll be about Studio 54, which I think has a lot more potential. Yeah. Just because obviously that's a, you know, a story of the famous world-renowned nightclub, legendary, then quickly, you know, crashes and burns due to tax evasion on the part of the founders and the owners. That seems really ripe to be fun because there's all like the obvious flash and you know, fun stuff about Studio 54 in its heyday before everything goes to shit. So I do think that's a great choice. So TBD.
Yeah, and that was just featured heavily in the miniseries Halston on Netflix. So if you want to get a little taste for that, go check that out. Yeah, I don't know. Ryan Murphy, I'm selling all my tickets on this. I even forgot to change the background. Damn. Anyways, why don't we move on to another Oscar Isaac product here, the card counter. Man, I was really sad I didn't get to go see this one. My plans to go see it got dashed when some of my social plans got moved around. So I was disappointed I wasn't able to talk about this with you today, but you were able to go check this out, right?
I was, yes. The Card Counter, the latest film from Paul Schrader, his first film since 2018's First Reformed, starring Ethan Hawke, a movie I loved. Made my top 3, top 5 of 2018. Awesome movie. And of course, people know Paul Schrader, a accomplished director in his own right, but also a well-known writer for his collaborations with Scorsese, namely Taxi Driver and Raging
Pretty good
Bull
movie.
as well. Yeah, a legendary career at this point. He's pretty old, and he's also really funny because he's like super online now. Like he just kind of just rants on his public Facebook page and just says shit. So Paul Schrader, I think, is becoming more self-aware now that he's in his mid-70s. And he also co-wrote Last Temptation of Christ as well. So yeah, the Card Counter just premiered at Venice. Just came out in Focus Features, wide release. Stars Oscar Isaac, and then also has Willem Dafoe, Tiffany Haddish, and Ty Sheridan in tow as well. And it's a very good movie that wasn't quite what I expected going in. I hadn't really seen the trailer. I think I'd seen like a little bit of the trailer when I was seeing previews for another movie, but I'd kind of go in blind. I was like, all right, Oscar Isaac, gambling, poker movie, Paul Schrader. Good enough for me. I don't need to know anything else. And it's that. And it's good. I think it's a good gambling movie. It's a good poker movie. There's some awesome like narration stuff on the work of Isaac explaining like Hold'em strategy, explaining blackjack strategy, kind of narrating what his character's actually doing in the casinos. But the movie also, because it's a late period Paul Schrader movie, is very heady and has much grander ambition. First Reformed, of course, notable for being about a preacher who has a crisis of faith. But why does he have a crisis of faith? It's because he's been subsumed by the dread of climate change. In this case, the Card Counter is about a poker player, a very good poker player who goes around the country, small casinos. He notably has small goals, small ambitions, doesn't want to win too much. He'll count cards, but he's not going to take the casino to the cleaners. He'll just win a bit, move on, go to the next hotel, go to the next casino, do his thing. A man of routine. And then you figure out why Oscar Isaac's character, William Tell, you figure out why Tell is a man of routine, and it's because he was a prison guard at Abu Ghraib prison in Iraq. And there's flashback scenes, kind of shot in a cool way, like a fishbowl lens. And you realize that Tell, as well as Willem Dafoe, were in Abu Ghraib. And if you know anything about that, that means they were torturing and doing very inhumane things to prisoners. And Tell is someone who's done his time as one of, he's one of those soldiers like in the pictures, the infamous pictures of the prison guards and stuff. And now he's a man of routine, kind of keep his life together. And he happens to be a good poker player, and that's what he does. And as he meets Tiffany Haddish and he meets Ty Sheridan's characters, it's just kind of like this very appealing, interesting push pull of where he wants to take his life. And as you imagine, like with First Reform and Paul Schrader's things, it's subsumed by guilt and purpose. And again, did not go where I thought it would go when you think of the log line of Oscar Isaac poker movie, but it's really good, and I would recommend everyone see it.
Schrader is just he writes such interesting stuff now. Like even just you like describing this plot, I'm like, oh man, I just have to go see this because I just want to know how things play out, and it's so interesting to like take all these different aspects and see how they meld together as a story. Definitely one I want to get to eventually. What do you think of Sheridan in this? Was he good?
He was fine. He was solid. Obviously we've talked about Ty Sheridan a bit. He doesn't make the best impression in Ready Player One. His probably biggest role to this point. But he plays a very important character and plays it well. And the fact that he's a lot younger than Isaac works well for the two characters. And Haddish also a very interesting casting choice for a Paul Schrader movie, for a dramatic film, of course. But it's a bit of a restrained performance on Haddish's part, but I think she does a really good job. And it's honestly probably one of her more interesting performances in a minute since, she blew up with, Girls Trip, 5 years ago, you know, definitely not comedic, although, she has still her Tiffany Haddish charm. So, not what I would have expected a movie to see her in, but she's pretty good too.
Interesting. Well, definitely, if you've seen this, go check it out. Leave us a comment what you thought about the movie. If I ever get to it and it's worth it, we'll circle back around.
Mhm.
But Dave, let's talk about the Emmys. How is it award season already? Or at least it's starting again. Just feels like it never stops.
COVID Emmys too, baby.
Yeah, jeez.
COVID Emmys too. COVID harder.
So we're gonna go through the main awards here. I mean, there's so many. For example, we can probably skip variety talk series as it's almost definitely going to be John Oliver. However, maybe we'll get a little Conan nod. Probably not, but we're gonna skip all the littler ones and just move to. We're gonna start with limited or movie writing. Which crazy that they kind of lump these together, but whatever. It's like, 'cause, for example, we're going to be talking about Hamilton in the same breath that we talk about Queen's Gambit. And
okay, we'll get to Hamilton in a second. I'm very pissed that Hamilton is here. It's freaking stupid.
Yeah. But why don't we start with writing in a limited series or movie? Somehow WandaVision got 3 nominations here. Did you think WandaVision was that good in terms of writing?
No, definitely not. Disney push. Disney Plus, very successful. This time around at the Emmys. Disney was the second most awarded network for the Creative Arts Emmys that just happened this past weekend. They already won 13 times. Mando won 7 times. And just a general bellwether of what you think might continue for the main awards. So, yeah, WandaVision being there a lot, though. Not what you expect, but I think there's a clear favorite in this category.
Yeah, I think it's I May Destroy You. By far the best odds. And if you had to pick an upset in this category, I mean, probably had to be Mayor of Easttown, but I think this one's a pretty sure lock.
Right. And I mean, this is the most sure win that I May Destroy is going to get, notably the best show of 2020. But in the face of the Queen's Gambit and Anya Taylor-Joy, it seems like the best chance I May Destroy is going to get in the category would be to win writing, which is totally deserved. So that's nice to see.
Yeah, I agree. For directing in limited series or movie, the betting odds actually have Queen's Gambit as the favorite. Do you feel that way though? Do you think it's actually going to win?
I think it will win. Yeah. I mean, the best directed limited series I saw was kind of clearly Underground Railroad. Just the most cinematic thing there. Barry Jenkins.
Jenkins.
Yeah. Queen's Gambit is a force. 9 Creative Arts wins this past weekend, the winningest of anything that's already been awarded. Netflix, of course, leading the way, 34 wins the past weekend. So Queen's Gambit's going to have a big night, and that's going to start with Scott Frank in directing.
It's kind of sad because obviously there's 2 I May Destroy You episodes that are up for the same category, so they probably eat each other. And then Underground Railroad just not going to have the same push. But you're right, like this should go to Barry Jenkins for Underground Railroad. Kind of sad he's not going to get it. All right, now we're into the supporting actor category for limited series or movie. Evan Peters, David Diggs, Jonathan Groff, Anthony Ramos. Do you feel it? Dave? Is Hamilton going to get the win here?
It's a waste of time.
Yeah, what the fuck, man?
It's so fucking stupid. But also, like, I think that here's the thing. If this was Hamilton done again for the sake of TV, totally cool. But this is not what this is. This is a film version of the original stage play for 2016. So it's not like this was made for TV. It's just a recording of theater that then was played on TV. How is this an Emmy eligible thing?
Yeah,
It's
I
just
mean, just
laziness to nominate all the performers all over again.
mhm.
David and Leslie Odom won their Tonys 4 years ago for these same performances. The same performances. We don't need to do
Completely
this
agree.
again.
Well, thankfully, Evan Peters is the favorite in this category, but David Diggs is right behind him. I think Peters will win it, but man, if someone had to win from this category, I would love to see Papa Esadu from
Yes.
I May Destroy You. That'd be like a really fun
Right.
upset in this category.
Peters is showy though, so you understand why he's
Yeah.
going to get the votes. And I've always liked Evan Peters, so nice to see him get an Emmy.
So then moving on to supporting actress for limited series or movie, we do have two Hamilton, Philippa Sue and Renee Elise Goldsberry, but then we have I think a nice mix here, right? Catherine Hahn for WandaVision is the favorite. Get a couple Mayor of Easttowns with Julianne Nicholson and Jean Smart. You get a Queen's Gambit in here for Moses Ingram. Any of those stand out to you? Who do you think's gonna take it?
Yeah, this is one that if you didn't look at any odds, it's kind of like hard to pick a clear favorite. I know the odds say Catherine Hahn's going to win for WandaVision, but do you really think Marvel's going to get an acting win, maybe 2 acting wins? Because Paul Bettany could win too. Like,
Tough.
I wouldn't be surprised if like this is a Julianne Nicholson win, kind of coming out of the blue. This is Jean Smart's second win, and I'd say this is the one she's less or nom, and this is the one she's less likely to win.
I agree.
So I'd say Hahn or Nicholson, but it could be a surprise here.
Yeah, I mean, I think if Hahn wins, then you're probably going to see Bettany win. This feels like a toss up to me, but yeah, the odds have Hahn pretty heavily ahead of Nicholson, unfortunately. So I don't know why. I don't know why I don't want Disney Plus to win. I'm not sure why I'm rooting against WandaVision so much. I liked it. I just don't want them to win for some reason.
Yeah.
Maybe it's my Marvel bias. I don't know. Why don't we keep moving on? Actor in a limited movie, limited series or movie, and you already said Paul Bettany. He's the favorite. Then you got Hugh Grant for The Undoing. Man, I haven't thought about The Undoing too much recently.
Nope.
I don't know.
Once we saw how it ended, it's like, okay, well, good try.
Yeah,
fun week to week.
well, and then you got the two big dogs, Leslie Odom Jr. and Lin-Manuel Miranda for Hamilton, and Ewan McGregor for Halston, a show we were just talking about. Which, man, good for Ewan McGregor. Keep getting those noms. I mean, I guess it's probably Bettany, right?
Kind of by default, when you say.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't a super inspiring category.
Yeah, he's the only one who's in a good show that wasn't Hamilton.
Right.
And also, here's a great example of, what's been cool to see here? Ethan Hawke from The Good Lord Bird or John Boyega from Small Axe. But no, we have 2 more Hamilton noms just for shits,
Man, John Boyega would have been flames.
Yeah, I believe he won the Globe for this category last year.
Crazy. Yeah, it's probably going to be
this
Bettany. But, maybe throw a little money on Hugh Grant and see if you can make out. It's so funny because the actor category is so much worse than the actress category for limited series or movie. I mean, you got Kate Winslet, Anya Taylor-Joy, Michaela Cole, Elizabeth Olsen, and Cynthia Erivo. I mean, how can you pick out of those? Winslet's the favorite, but I think Taylor-Joy is probably the person for my
Lock it down, man.
Right?
Lock it down.
Right?
She won the Globe, albeit not against anyone else in this category, but she did win the Globe. And yeah, like I said, Queen's Gambit is going to have a big night. They've already started having the big night with the Creative Arts wins. And she's the whole reason why Queen's Gambit went from being a really good period show to an excellent one because of her magnetism,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
It's a just coronation for a great actor.
Which is really too bad because I May Destroy You was, a show people loved, the critics loved. And it's probably going to not really win too many awards in its award season run. I mean, if you had to pick one show to upset the Queen's Gambit, which is the heavy favorite and limited series, best limited series, I think I May Destroy You is probably where I would go to, because if you're gonna get like the woke vote, that's where it's gonna go. But I don't know, Queen's Gambit, like you said, just seems like a lock.
Right, and this is the best category of all the Emmys, just in terms of like heavy hitters. Queen's Gambit, Mayor of Easttown, I May Destroy You, The Underground Railroad, and WandaVision.
Crazy.
Absolutely stacked, like insane, you know? And Gambit won at the Globes, of course, against mainly other shows. Completely different field, actually. And yeah, I would love I May Destroy You to win. That would be my pick because I think it was the best show. It was higher on my list last
By
year than
far.
Gambit. But I mean, it's just gonna have a huge night. That's the way it is.
Yeah.
And we definitely root for Michaela Cole and I May Destroy You winning for writing so they get something, you know.
Yeah.
But I mean that's it's tough at the end of the day, you know. A limited series is routinely stacked because that's where some of the biggest work is done. And you know, looking back on this, if Mayor of Easttown ends up getting a season 2, it technically will no longer be a limited series. Also, Lovecraft Country was canceled, only one season, but technically it's in the drama category. You know, the semantics of it constantly shift. But yeah, absolutely loaded the whole field.
Again, Barry Jenkins is not going to win awards for putting out the most cinematic limited series of the year. It's just insane. Anyways, we're moving on to drama now. Starting with the writing. I mean, pretty strong category. The Crown, Pose, Handmaid's Tale, Mandalorian, The Boys, Lovecraft Country. You know, we don't watch The Crown, but
I want to watch The
got a lot
Crown.
of
I just
love.
haven't watched it.
The most recent season is way more intriguing because of the Diana stuff to me. Not
Yes.
a big Royals person.
And the upcoming season will also have Diana, now played by Elizabeth Debicki. Sign me up for that.
Ooh. Might have to tune in for the first
Yeah.
time, but you know, Pose actually feels like a good bet to me. Only because it's won awards before. It's a beloved show. I could see it taking this category, but this feels a bit like The Crown is like a sure thing from what I can gather.
Yeah, this seems like the Emmys where The Crown finally breaks through. Netflix finally wins their big, you know, series category winner. And that'll probably reflect on other awards such as directing and writing, frankly, in the drama category. But, you know, I wouldn't totally rule out Lovecraft Country, which got a lot of nominations, got some creative wins, like Courtney B. Vance in Guest Actor. So that wouldn't totally shock me. But yeah, I mean, this kind of feels like there's going to be a lot of The Crown, and they'll start here.
Yeah, and then for directing, it's also the heavy, or I wouldn't say heavy favorite, but it's the favorite 7-2 over The Handmaid's Tale, which, I mean, we haven't watched Handmaid's Tale, but kind of crazy it's still getting awards. Feels like it was so much bigger a few years back.
I mean, this kind of strikes me, and from what I understand, the show has obviously tailed off quite a bit since the early acclaim, and reminds you a lot of how like Modern Family would like keep picking up wins, how the Kaminsky method keeps picking up nominations, stuff like that. You know, like there's a little like laziness and familiarity with nominations. This Is Us, another example right now. So it feels like that's where Handmaid's Tale is at, and also, you know, Succession not eligible this time, Euphoria not eligible this time. So they picked what they picked, and we still got cool stuff like The Boys getting nominated. So overall, we can check our talk about the nominations back in July. Overall, not very critical of that. They did a pretty good job, but you still get like stuff that no one's like super jazzed about anymore, like The Handmaid's Tale.
Right. Well, I think this next category, supporting actor in a drama, is actually a category that people will be paying attention to, mostly because the favorite, Michael K. Williams, just passed away. He was nominated for his role in Lovecraft Country. I don't know. I don't know if he was the favorite prior to his passing. But
so the voting was done before he died.
Yeah.
So I'd imagine he's just been the favorite the whole time.
But I think definitely deserving. He was definitely great in Lovecraft Country. There's a lot of Mandalorian, or I guess maybe one Mandalorian, but there's a couple of Handmaid's Tale, is what I was trying to say on here. At least 3 of them. So they're going to kind of eat each other alive. So it really seems like probably Michael K. Williams versus Tobias Menzies.
Yeah, if Crown just has a juggernaut night, maybe Menzies wins. But yeah, it feels like Michael K. Williams will finally get that Emmy that always eluded him. Obviously, having just huge roles, The Wire, Boardwalk Empire, Night of, always a gigantic presence, essential presence to every show he's been on. And obviously a shame that he just passed. No question.
experience it if he does win.
Yeah.
So, supporting actress, a lot of Handmaid's Tale, a couple of The Crown. Really, I mean, this is probably going to go to Gillian Anderson for portraying Margaret Thatcher.
Yeah. She won the Globe over Helena Bonham Carter earlier this year too. So
this category is tough because the only actress who I've seen any of the work in it is Anjanou Ellis. So I don't think she's going to win. So why don't we just kind of move on to Best Actor in a Drama, which, guess what? Looks like The Crown is favored again. But if anyone can upset, it would be Billy Porter, who is beloved within this sphere. So
yeah, you know what I would say? I would root for Regé-Jean Page to win for Bridgerton.
I was just about to say, I hope he upsets, because that would just be fun.
Yeah, people love him, and people love him because of Bridgerton. It was a star-making role, right, in January, and I think that'd be really exciting. He also is not returning to Bridgerton for season 2, so this is kind of one chance for that performance to be honored. And also, like, it's okay to break up the monotony. We don't if there's only 11 Crown wins instead of 12, Crown heads will be fine.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, I mean, Josh O'Connor is probably gonna win. Kind of funny to think that Jonathan Major, such a standout talent, probably has no shot in this category. But then again, like, it actually isn't the showiest role. He kind of is playing a straight man on Lovecraft Country, despite how talented he is. So,
well, it's funny because I was going to say shout out to Matthew Rhys, who we liked in Perry Mason, and I think very much any other year could have been right near the top, but just it seems like The Crown is going to clean up here, which continues in the Best Actress in a Drama, where Emma Corrin is pretty heavy favorite to win this category, and it seems like a sure thing. MJ Rodriguez for Pose is in second. I mean, it's kind of crazy that it's just like Pose or The Crown for these top categories here. But
so Olivia Colman did not win for the last season of The Crown. She lost to Zendaya, who of course is not in the mix this year. So the Olivia Colman Awards darling thing is still kind of on the surface because we don't actually like have the data point really to suggest. But Corrin did win the Globe, just like Josh O'Connor. So in all likelihood, it's probably just going to go chalk.
Yeah. Well, drama series, best drama series: The Crown, Mandalorian, Pose, Handmaid's Tale, Bridgerton, Lovecraft Country, The Boys, and This Is Us. Dave, who's your pick?
It's really hard to see The Crown not winning with all the other expected wins it's going to have. Like maybe Lovecraft Country just has a huge like upset night, a few other wins, and then it wins. I guess it's plausible. But I mean, I don't. Mandalorian got a lot of nominations, but I can't see that winning. And obviously next year this will be Succession probably again. So this is a great opportunity for a show like The Crown to finally break through, given all the love for it.
Yeah, Mandalorian has the second best odds on betting sites, but I think it's probably just going to be The Crown. So I wouldn't place too much money in this category. And I almost feel like that boringness is going to continue. This might not be an award show I tune into at all, because I think other than limited series, we're probably not going to get a lot of variety in the comedy one either. We're going to start with writing, and we'll kind of get to the narrative. But you have Ted Lasso, Hacks, The Flight Attendant, Girls 5 Eva, and Pen 15 as the ones nominated here. A couple episodes for Ted Lasso. Looks like Ted Lasso's pilot is probably going to be the winner of this. And I think it's going to be a big night for Ted Lasso, honestly.
Oh, definitely a big night for Ted Lasso. It would be nice if Hacks could get something, because I definitely would chop that up as a superior written show than Ted Lasso quite easily. But yeah, I mean, there was also not a lot of comedies truly in the mix here. Like apart from like Made for Love and HBO Max, there was not a whole lot of stuff I thought like was left on the cutting room floor. Just weren't a lot of comedies eligible this time around. So they did what they could. But I mean, look at the glut of Ted Lasso acting nominations. It's a little much for me. I'm also not the biggest fan of the show, but yeah, Ted Lasso's going to do well.
Yeah, I mean, we can kind of zoom through the best director in a comedy. Going to be Ted Lasso. Comedy supporting actor, Ted Lasso was nominated 4 times, but it looks like Kenan Thompson might pull this out. Is what
And
people
that's
are
for
saying.
Keenan, not for SNL.
No, actually, it's for SNL, I believe.
It is for SNL?
Yeah, at least
okay.
that's what Gold Derby has.
Okay,
so.
that makes more sense then.
But man, if it was nominated for Keenan, I would be like, oh shit. But yeah, no, I mean, I think this was his last season on SNL, one of the longest running members of the cast. So just kind of getting that Lifetime Achievement Award type nod. The Kaminsky method shows up here. Paul Reiser gets a nom. Carl Clemens Hopkins for Hacks. But yeah, it seems like Keenan is probably the safe bet, with Brett Goldstein from Ted Lasso as Roy Kent as the solid second choice. Supporting actress Hannah Waddingham for Ted Lasso. I mean, it seems like it's just gonna be Ted Lasso night, man.
I mean, yeah, I'd love Hannah Einbinder to win for Hacks, but alas, it's probably Hannah Waddingham. Well, here we are.
Yeah, probably no shot for Cecily Strong. This is also her last season on SNL.
Right.
But you know, if you're gonna see it, that might be it. I never watched The Flight Attendant. Did you ever see that?
I wanted to check it out. That was the first HBO Max show that gets some big buzz after was it the Anna Kendrick one, Love Life, and also got some Globe noms. So it's coming back for a second season. I might check it out because I think that's notable because it's kind of like Hacks. There's plenty of drama alongside the comedy, whereas Ted Lasso is pretty clearly attempting to be a lighter fare the entire time. So it depends what you're into.
It's been on my radar for sure. All right, Best Actor in a Comedy Series. Big names here: William H. Macy, Anthony Anderson, Kenan Thompson, Michael Douglas. But you know that Jason Sudeikis is going to take this baby home for Ted Lasso. Seems like a lock, pretty much.
Oh, it's definitely a lock. But also, I mean, just look at the choices here. Like Anthony Anderson, Michael Douglas, William H. Macy. They've been nominated so many times. They're just kind of like write-ins at this point.
And Kenan was actually nominated for Kenan.
That's what I was
category.
Thinking of.
Yeah, which I mean, good for him, but I don't think he has much of a shot. So good for Jason Sudeikis. He needs it after his wife ran off with Harry Styles. So very tough, very tough. Here we go. If Hacks is going to take it, this feels like the category, and Jean Smart is the favorite to win Best Actress in a Comedy Series, but she's up against Kaylee Cuoco for The Flight Attendant, Tracy Ellis Ross for Blackish, Allison Janney for Mom. How is Mom still getting nominations? I don't know. And then
people like Allison Janney.
Yeah, she's very likable.
I mean, this should be Smart and also great just because it's almost like a late career achievement acknowledgement award for her work on Fargo and Watchmen and Mare of Easttown and whatever else I'm forgetting. She's been crushing it for years now at this point on TV, so well earned. But I mean, also she's so good on Hacks. It would be my choice regardless.
Yeah, I totally agree. So I'm glad there's no Ted Lasso in this category because it lets Jean Smart take something home. But then we get to Best Comedy Series: Ted Lasso, Hacks, The Flight Attendant, Kaminsky Method, Pen 15, Blackish, Cobra Kai. Cobra Kai getting a nom here. Good for them. And Emily in Paris. Emily in Paris. Oh, that's hilarious.
You know, I kind of want to watch it still.
I've watched episodes. The person I live with, Julianne, watched the whole thing, and it's pretty bad.
Yeah,
pretty bad.
That's what I understand. But see, that's the thing. Now I have morbid curiosity. How bad is
it? Just how bad can it get?
Because you know what? They're in Paris. They shot it in Paris. I like Lily Collins. Let me see how bad it is.
It does look good. I will say that, and it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be, and especially from what I had heard critically. But it definitely is not a good show. Anyways, it's probably more interesting than this category because Ted Lasso is also going to win this category. Yeah. Hacks, please, just give us an upset here, just to make it interesting. At this point,
man. I mean, last year Schitt's Creek ran amok with many comedy wins. This year it'll be Ted Lasso. Again, at least this year it's a little more defensible given the relatively lack of other choices, but they still win a little OD, in my opinion. And you know, one other thing I would love to see, Variety Special Recorded, Hamilton is nominated, but I would love to see Bo Burnham win for Inside. He is also nominated. And Bo did win 3 Creative Arts Emmys already for Inside for writing, music direction, and directing. So maybe it's possible that Bo will upset Hamilton.
Anything else that you're like rooting for, hoping for?
I guess not. You know, honestly, I'm happy to I'm happy to see Anna Taylor Joy win, just because
Yeah.
just so invested in her career. She's just so great, you know. So definitely want to see that. And if I made a Schrader who can win a second time somehow, that'd be amazing. Not betting on it though.
I'm so much more invested in these limited series categories than anywhere else. So kind of funny how that happens. But
Right.
anyways, follow us on Twitter at Nostalgia Pod. If anything big happens, we'll tweet about it live, but most likely this is going to be a chalk. So find another way to spend your Sunday night, I would probably say. Dave, we're wrapping up there. What should the people be listening to for next week?
Yeah. Sex Education returns season 3 on Netflix. The debut album from Lil Nas X, Montero, Here at Last. Cry Macho, the Clint Eastwood movie.
Yeah.
From Warner Brothers, also on HBO Max, will be out. A few other things we'll be checking in on. So, of course, the Emmys will be happening. So, Eyes of Tammy Faye starting to come out.
Let's go. Follow
Yeah.
us. SoundCloud.com/nostalgiapod and YouTube.com/nostalgiapod. And also, like we said before, Nostalgia Best of 2021 on Spotify to get all the music we talk about. Catch you next week.